Celebrating 5 years on YouTube as your live interactive Sharks postgame. This is Teal Town After Dark. Good evening, everyone. It is March 5th, 2020. The San Jose Sharks have their win streak come to an end at 3. Well, it was fun while it lasted, folks, but welcome to this edition of Teal Town After Dark. This is your live interactive Sharks post-game show. Of course, if you want to be a part of the show, here's how you do it, folks. Join us in the chat with fellow Sharks fans on the YouTube chat, on the page, or the app. You can always follow us on the social with all of our Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, Discord, you name it. And, of course, for more Sharks content, hit us up at Teal Town USA tonight. And it's a special night as we welcome back, Eric Landy, of course, right?
Yeah, I'm here. No, I thought tonight's game showed some positives. I think the overall outcome's negative, but I definitely think there's some positives.
Yep. And of course, joining us, I think our very first guest. So take that, Brody. But one of our very first guests from Landy. What was the title we gave her, or you gave her?
Oh, writer at large.
Writer at large of all sorts of websites. One of our favorites of all time, Shalana Goldman, is here with us. Shalana, first off, it's great to see you back, and it's great to have you.
It's great to see you guys as well. Yep. It's been too long. It's great to see you guys as well.
It's great to see you. You've been all over the place and covering the Sharks. Of course, we would be remiss to say, unfortunately, there were no hella dudes penalties tonight. So,
that's fine. I think that's okay.
That's okay. Well, let's get at it, gang. Early on, a little bit quiet, and of course, Ryan Suter gets his 8th at 8:34 off the face-off draw. Nice grip it and rip it shot. But then the Sharks would get a power play goal from Stefan Nason at 14:40 to tie this game up from Gregor and Heed. Shalana, this guy is starting to become a fan favorite. I don't know if it's the number 11 thing or whatnot, but Stefan Nason, his 7th of the season, his first career power play goal.
Exactly. I actually think that he's been solid the entire time he's been in San Jose. But it does have to be remembered, though, that when he got to San Jose, the team was in so much turmoil. I think that he was doing, but he's a good depth player. He's a good utility guy that you can move up and down the lineup, and I think that's really important, especially post-trade deadline. Now that Barclay Goodrow isn't there anymore, and he was kind of that guy for a few years now. But Nason, he's a workhorse. He can score, he can set up, and he's gritty. And if there's one thing that especially showed tonight against a really heavy Minnesota team, is that the Sharks need more guys with that little bit of grit. So if you have a player like him that can move up and down the lineup and bring that, I think that's really important.
Yeah, he's definitely become a fan favorite, and we can already see some of the comments in the chat. Rob Iman saying it's the Hakuna Matata factor. I mean,
that is fun. I like it. It's fun. The whole goal song thing has ended up actually being kind of fun to see. I think that's good for fans. Fans can see some of the guys' personalities that way. But yeah, that one's particularly fun.
Do you have a personal favorite out of the ones we've heard so far?
I do not, no. I did like Thornton going with Queen tonight. I did like that because my tastes are a little more classic rock. I was surprised that he didn't choose the Tragically Hip. I know that that's one of his faves. But yeah, I like the Radio Gaga use for the goal song.
Yeah, it's unique. I gotta say, Logan's was probably the one that just wait. What? But hey, you know what? They're having fun with it. That's the important part. Um,
You got to do that at this time of year, at this time of the season when they're that far down in the standings. That's kind of the best thing that you can do is have a little bit of fun.
right. After all, Tomas Hurdle says fun must be always. So we move on to the second period where Alex Galchenyuk and Zach Parise get two of Minnesota goals to put them up by two. In the second period, was it? Did you think it was more dominated by Minnesota? Because to me, I mean, yeah, while they were outshot 12-8, I thought San Jose stayed with them for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just looked at that second goal, and it was just a wicked kind of bounce coming off of Martin Jones. I think there was a little bit of a rebound there, and Vlasic just kind of got caught up in it. And it was twice that we saw Vlasic get turned around. And so he didn't really have the greatest of nights tonight. And so on that second one, you do want to see a little bit better rebound control out of Martin Jones for sure. But Vlasic needs to tie up that stick there, directly in the crease. Unfortunate, but Zach Parise scores, I think, on the third goal, I believe it is.
Yeah, Parise had a nice finished it off on a nice play by Minnesota to make it 3-1. Shalana, coming into tonight, Martin Jones has played pretty well, going 4-2. I think ever since the last Minnesota game, it's something about the Wild that gets him going.
I actually think that, with the exception of that first goal that he let in tonight, that he still even looked good tonight. The second two from Minnesota were pretty nasty. But I think in general, Jones has looked just kind of better overall. I think one of the best things that Bob has done since he's taken over as head coach was to start the goalie competition and say, we don't have a set starter. I'm going to give both guys an opportunity to cheat. And one thing that we've seen from Martin Jones is he plays his best hockey when there's a little bit of adversity. I still believe, and I talked about this with Dan Ruzanowski a few months back, as a Shark, was at the end of 2016 when he had James Reimer as his backup, who was, already, a starting goaltender caliber type of player. I think that having Jones sit and watch for a while and getting that extra time to work with Nabokov and having to watch, not having to watch because he and Aaron Dell have a good working relationship, but watching Dell play well, I think that fueled him a little bit more. And so we've gotten to this point in the season, sure, they're so far down in the standings, but this is really good going forward, showing that he's put this work in and that it's generating such good results. And I didn't like that first goal. I think that he would probably like to have that one back. And in the second period, I think the team in front of him let up a little bit, and that's how Minnesota, who's also coming in hot, was able to get those two goals. But overall, I think he's been significantly better.
Yeah, I mean, exactly on the point there, Shalana. I think on that first goal, you see Ryan Suter just rip it right off of the face-off, and that is a softie, and Jones, we've always said, gives up that one softie. He always tends to. I don't know what it is. It's just one of those goals that you just want to see him stop. And then he normally kind of gets his game together. So, I mean, I am seeing some signs of positivity in his game. I do like the fact that he is challenging a lot more. I think he's squaring up a little bit better. He's not playing as small, because I think that was my biggest criticism of Martin Jones early in the season was just how small he's playing. I mean, for a big framed guy, he was almost all the way back into the crease. So, unfortunately, it was he was victimized quite a bit in the first, I'd say first quarter of the season, maybe first half of that season.
it's you mentioned him looking like he played a bit smaller, and I think that went into his confidence level. Those first couple of games where where he got scored on so early and things were so tough for him. I think that really got into his. He's not a big guy. He's actually really lean, but he is very tall. He has so much space. So I do think it's a confidence thing. I think it has to do with him getting the extra work in. Uh, uh, off of that, when he does a bigger workload, he doesn't break down as easily. But I do believe that it also goes into how the team was playing in front of him, because the rest of the team didn't earlier in the season either and wasn't giving him any help.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I think he's definitely Martin Jones is kind of always been known as a systems goaltender, right? Where he will play, as good as the team is playing in front of him. I don't think we've ever seen him be a super athletic kind of goaltender, or that goaltender that can really, steal you a game, a la Carey Price or something of that nature. But I think as the team has played better in front of him, his numbers reflect that. Still, I think you want to just see him get those one or two stinkers that he lets in every. It seems like every game is just like one of those goals, and you just kind of look at it, it's like, nah, it's a little bit of a head scratcher, you just want to see him get that back. But yeah, definitely signs of positivity in his game. I like, how much time he has been spending with Nabokov, and, the whole load management thing. I think there have been several articles written to that effect of he had played a lot of hockey. I mean, he was among tops in starts in the past, I think 3 or 4 seasons. So, it's, I don't think it's any coincidence to see him get a little bit better load management and to get his game kind of coming back. I don't think that's I don't think that's not a coincidence. I think it's by design, and I think it's really helpful for him because he had played a lot of hockey.
He really had, and kind of to that point, he is actually a player. If you go and you look at his overall stats, he's actually a player who overall does his best towards the end of the season when he has a lot of games that he plays in a row. He actually plays well that, and knew that, okay, if I keep giving them starts, he'll figure it out and he'll work on it. But these seasons, and I do mean that caught up to him, and having the time not just to work with.
Got it. You were cutting out a little bit there, Shalina, in regards to Jones. But what do you look at with the rest of this roster? I mean, it's gone through a bunch ever since September 2018. But now you have 6 rookies on this team. I mean, I guess the obvious one would be Mario Ferraro, but overall the kids on this squad, who's looked great in your eyes, and who do you think is just on the cusp of taking it to another level?
I'm losing you guys a little bit. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Shalana. I'll go ahead and go first. I think for me, the guy that is really kind of opening my eyes to his game is Joel Shulman. I really do think he brings a lot of jam to that third line. Of course, I mean, Stefan Nason isn't a young player, but I think he is definitely the kind of player that adds a little bit of jam to the first line. I like the way that he's playing the game. And then a guy that has kind of really come on in the last, I'd say, 8-9 games would be Noah Gregor. I really like the way that he's playing down low. I think he's using his physical assets. I don't see any shyness to shoot the puck. So he's a guy that I've kind of looked at as, somebody who's really kind of growing into his own.
You just mentioned Shulman. I really like him with Marcus Sorensen right now. I was a little worried about Sorensen early in the season. I was thinking, what's going to happen when Joe Thornton retires and he doesn't have the Shulman Sorensen connection on that third line? Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah,
Is everybody
hear you.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good. No. I can see the comments. Everybody thinks I stole Eric's AOL connection. I want to make sure.
You're good.
You're never gonna live that down.
I know.
You're never gonna live that down. But no, I think that Shulman has added just a whole other level, and this we're kind of starting to see that was missing early in the season. I think this is the depth from the new guys that the organization wanted to see back in October. And while it's coming on late, it is nice to see that now, and he's part of that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and especially you've seen it on the PK, especially with Shulman and with Sorensen's game. I mean, there were a few different pass to Shulman from Sorensen kind of playing up on the boards, and kicking it out to Shulman, scoring a goal that way. The other thing, though, we have to kind of commend Marcus Sorensen for getting the piss back in his game. You know what I mean? Like, the guy is just being a little agitator out there, and really, when he is agitating and mixing it up and shooting with just reckless abandon, that's when he's at his best. And I don't know what it is that sparked that back into his game, but that's the player that Doug Wilson signed. Not this guy who had gone into a shell of himself, and really every time he scored, he looked kind of bewildered that he did.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, tired at the end of last season. I think when the team around him earlier in the season wasn't doing well, we saw that tonight when he was playing really gritty hockey. When he has that bit of a bite in his game, he plays.
Yeah.
Just since we're talking about it in that bottom six, really impressed with Antti Suomela. Wasn't going to make much of a comeback. I talked to Roy Sommer about him last year, and Sommer's thing was once he fingers that and even though he's dealt with some injury stuff this season, he's done really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally echo the points there on Antti Suomela. He's another guy that the Sharks were looking for more out of, and he was kind of yo-yoing between the Barracuda and the Sharks. He had some injuries. I believe he suffered a concussion a little bit earlier in the season, and you could see that affect his game. But he's definitely got the tools to be a good middle six player. I really like his vision on the ice. I think that he's also really good at taking face-offs, and he can drive his own line. With him, it's really trying to understand the 200-foot game. I'd like to see a little bit more out of the back checking, and I think that's why he was yo-yoing so much. But I think that he's ironed out most of those things in his game, and I think you're starting to see the coaching staff give him a little bit more time on ice, and really that's the thing that we've been advocating here. Because of the season and the way that it's kind of shaped out right now, the game is all about process, right? It's about the process for the kids. It's about the process for really maturing the game of like I said, the depth players, and having the star players also kind of find their groove again, because this has been a team where everything had gone wrong, right? I mean, you had Timo Meyer going into a long slump. Of course, you had the injuries to Hurdle and to Logan and to Eric. I mean, these are issues that kind of have to be ironed out. But these games, I'm seeing more improvement, and something that's really looking forward to for next season.
Gotcha, Landy. All right.
There's struggles at the start of the season. Oh,
You're
am I
good. You're
cutting out
good.
again?
No. Lady's mic died at the same time. It's just been it's been crazy. But
Snow, maybe.
yeah, now go ahead, Shalina.
Uh, uh, the problems in the season was that even their best players weren't playing well. Nobody was playing up to snuff, and it was with having all of the injuries and not having Eric Carlson right now and not having Tomas Hurdle, having Couture back I think helps. Having guys like Kane play better helps. But it's an all around team thing, and I think that they're all around.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that too. The whole rounding out the game for for the top players and having those depth players kind of come in and really fulfill the organization's wishes of them, to kind of backfill all the talent that had departed. So again, I'm seeing very good positive things out of this team, especially during the win streak. And since Logan has kind of come back and really solidified the center position, I'm starting to see positive things and things to look forward to for next season. For me, at least, it's going to continue on giving the kids more ice time and kind of understanding and kind of defining the way that the team needs to go play, moving forward.
I agree, Landy, on that one for sure. It's going to be interesting to see in the off season where this team goes. But I think the kids are showing some potential there. Goaltending has been improving, although it was a little shaky tonight, maybe. But definitely a heck of a lot of better efforts, especially after the trade deadline, for sure. So with that, Shalina, I appreciate you immensely. I know we've been finding through AOL connection issues because, of course, it this would never happen if AJ was running the show or Landy was running the show, of course. So, but I want to thank you. You've been a big supporter of us over the last 5 years, and we've been a big supporter of you immensely. We will do this again for sure. But tell where everybody can find you on the social and where they can find your writing.
God, where am I not writing these days? I'm at Yardbarker. I'm coming up pretty soon. Fingers, but you can always find me on Twitter, and I'm always down to talk.
Excellent. Shalina, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, you guys. I appreciate you guys.
Take care. Have a great night, my dear. Thank you so much. Shalina Goldman, everybody. Really appreciate it immensely. Yeah, Patrick, thank you so much. You can't spell Teal Town After Dark without AOL. Oh, man, oh, man. And appreciate it so much, Patrick. Of course, it goes to help support the show. Uh, you know, Landy, I'm gonna say this. Shalena is, like we said, one of our first guests, one of our favorite guests. Just lays it right down the line and appreciate her immensely. Somebody hire her, please, because she has been like one of the most. We all know about Kevin and Shang. Shalane has been right up there with them, and probably brings the most knowledge, that we know, that wants to sit down with us on the show. So, and yes, yes, Chris says no, it's not my fault this time. But did Puck Guy rub two AOL discs together to summon Shalane? All right, all right. Now the fun part is that Landy's mic is muted. Oh man, this is just no, I can't hear you at all, bro. Goodness gracious. You know what? I'm going to drop you off, and then you come back on in a sec and see what happens there. So, while Landy's doing that, we will take some of your comments now on Teal Town After Dark. You can be a part of the chat or everything on there. And so let's try this again, because why not? But uh, it's one of those weird ones where you hope to maybe not. How about now? You know, okay, I can barely hear you, Landy, but I gotta try to get you back on here. I can hear you faintly. There we go. Okay. Uh right.
I think that is really where she excels, and really brings something different to the table out of the out of the group of press corps that we have. Shang does great in-depth work, and if you're a hockey junkie or a hockey nerd, you can definitely like sink your teeth into his content. I think Shalana really is able to address every fan, and really have that wide audience. So, it's been awesome to have her support the show for as long as she has, and it's kind of we've seen her rise as we've kind of come along as well, right? So
Yep.
It's like riding the coattails, so to speak. And speaking of riding the coattails, we're almost to 2000. I believe we're at 1970.
Yeah, we're just on the cusp of 1970. Uh, we're right there, folks. And you know what? When we hit 2000, maybe Xfinity will actually gift me with fiber internet or something. I don't know, because I love how it gets thrown at me, but it is what it is, folks. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below. Hit us up on Teal Town USA on the social and on our website for sure.
We promise that we don't normally have this many technical issues.
It happens. It totally happens. And just like a 3-game winning streak happens, it happens. Oh man. Okay. So so overall, your final thoughts on this game.
Well, I think my final thoughts on this one, Eric, is just that I wish this was a game that was played in, November, or October. This is the type of game where you're like, look, the effort was there. The team put a ton of pressure on, deserved a better outcome than what eventually the score was. And, something to really build off of. Again, it's just like night and day with this team. It's like something just threw on the switch and being like, okay, well, we're going to give you back your effort now. So, I really would have wished we could have seen this earlier. But again, it gives me hope for the future. It gives me some hope that the depth players are starting to figure it out, and that this time at the end of the season here isn't a wasted time. We get to see the maturation process, view it before our eyes, and really get to see those young players kind of step up and take some key roles. Again, Noah Gregor, I just cannot say enough about how his game has evolved since when he first came up. Auntie Suomela is another guy that is really taking the great stride. So he's another guy that I continue to watch. Joel Shulman. So, I mean, these are pieces and ingredients to the team that are going to be very, very important going forward. So to see them, again, mature and to kind of watch them evolve their games has been fun. That has been the fun part of this. And I think as Sharks fans, if you're looking for something to root for, if you're looking for something to, kind of stick by the team for, definitely looking at the kids. Rob Iman bringing up hiring Boudreaux. I think, yeah, a guy like Gabby. I also like Peter Laviolette as a teaching kind of coach, but really a coach that can teach the game to the young guys, I think is kind of what this team is needing right now.
Yeah, definitely. The other kind of developing story.
Do we have to?
In JF Turner kind of saying it, thoughts on the coronavirus hysteria and if any games will be canceled this season. It remains to be seen. I mean, the Santa Clara, County Health Department, it basically put out you should try to avoid, places with parades and sporting events and concerts. Of course, that's like right in the heartbeat of the Shark Tank in Sharks territory, and everything that goes on in downtown San Jose is centered with SAP Center. I get their point. And if you take your precautions as much as possible, and people, folks, 20 seconds to wash your hands. Come on, if it's just 20 seconds to wash your hands and do whatever you can, that's fine. But this could, this, let's say, crisis, hysteria, warning, as it is. I mean, Landy, I don't know what it is with you. And of course, Chris, our good friend Chris, here's me who spends all my time at the airports. I mean, he's right up there with it. Chris coronavirus. Well, that might have been even worse than corona, but I hope you don't have to say stay out there. But there is a concern out there. If somebody's sneezing or coughing, and or you want to celebrate a goal, high five. I think there was one clip. I think it was the first goal. People high fiving. I'm like, okay, but it just takes that one for to happen inside the Shark Tank, I think, and that's really what the last thing that the Sharks really need right now.
Yeah, I mean, insofar as what I'm seeing, here in San Diego, we just had a report of somebody coming back from Italy, and now they're showing signs of having, the virus, and so the person actually went to work, and he worked for AT&T, an AT&T phone store, so came into contact with a bunch of different people. So, I think we kind of all had it in the back of our minds that it was a matter of time before it spread. And at this point, you need to take those precautions like you would for any kind of common flu. You got to also be aware if you're one of the groups of people that can be affected by this. So if you have diabetes, or if you have weak kidneys, if you have a lower immune system or any kind of immune system deficiencies, those are the people that I really fear for. And I have family members with diabetes, and Tam's mother has some issues with the kidneys and stuff. So just be safe, practice good hygiene and good cleanliness. Of course, doing the Obama sneeze in the arm thing. But just be conscious. I think you don't want to overreact. You just want to be conscious of the fact that there's something going around right now.
Yeah, and you just got to be looking out for it. The other thing too, there's a joke in here from Mark and Matt. Coronavirus equals cap hell. You're not quite off on that, to be honest. And I talked to this with Blake Price on TSN 1040 this afternoon about it, because if they do end up canceling games, and you mentioned Italy, Landy, where they've barred fans from sporting events, over in Italy I think for at least the next month.
Yeah, yeah. My AC Milan, you can't actually go to an AC Milan game. You actually, the stadiums are played, or the games are played to empty stadiums, and they've suspended church. They've suspended their normal festivals, any kind of gathering with large amounts of people. So, the mortality rate, I believe, is at 3 to 4%. So it's not, it's not high. I mean, we're not talking like 1918 Spanish flu,
Right.
cancel the Stanley Cup. But, again, you have to be prepared, and I think you have to be cautiously vigilant, I'd say be on the lookout. But I don't think you need to, be sweating bullets or
No.
panicking, anything like that.
No. I mean, I don't think at this moment. And granted, we're not doctors, nor do we play one on YouTube. But at the same time, when you talk about potentially canceling games, you talk about hockey related revenue.
Yeah.
And we just heard that the cap could go from anywhere between 84 and 88 million. Well, if you don't have people at games buying up your $16 beers with the beautiful Randy Hahn on it, I mean, you're going to run into some hockey related revenue issues. So there could be a trickle effect if they do start canceling games. Another thing that was mentioned is that maybe you postpone things, but the cup will get presented in July. I mean,
Yeah.
if that's the case, I it's fine, but whatever, and Chris mentioning this. Honestly, if the Sharks have to cancel a game, consider that a blessing. One
Yeah.
less kick in the balls this year.
Yeah, no, right? I mean, yeah, that would just be the ultimate icing on the cake for the year. But again, I say just be vigilant and just again good hygiene practices. And the thing is, going into the summertime, flu viruses always, kind of die off. I don't think we'll see an immediate die off, and I think we're still a year out from a vaccine or whatever. But again, I think taking a cautious approach, but not overreacting. And so far as HRR is concerned, yeah, we can be concerned this year for what the cap is going to go up on, but of course, there's always the escalator that the players can take. I think it's upwards of 4% that they can rise the cap themselves, and then also too, we have to look at the new US TV deal. I believe that's coming in 2 years. So that in itself is going to get you at least a $5 to $6 million bump in the cap within that. And it's interesting because I was listening to TSN 590, the Toronto station, and they were talking about Dubas signing these deals, knowing that he's going to get that $6 to $8 million bump in the cap once the new US TV deal comes in. So, I think as hockey fans, we should be concerned, maybe interested. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And don't forget, with all the tracking technology that they are putting in, investing in the NHL, and the pucks are going to be used. The special pucks will be used come playoff time.
And betting.
And the betting. I mean, there's going to be more revenue, and who knows what the streaming deal will be.
FanDuel, I believe, now has streaming rights. I think Bill Daley came out at the Board of Governors meeting and announced that FanDuel will have NHL content on the app. So when you load up FanDuel and they do, start allowing for different pieces to be bet on, you will be able to get NHL content through there, which is kind of interesting. And then, like you were saying, with the player tracking, you're going to get the advanced analytics. And I think MGM is in charge of like the analytical kinds of bets. So if you want to bet on a particular like an instance in the game, whether it's a face off or whether it's some kind of Corsi stat or some kind of fancy stat, or like where the puck actually goes in on net on the goalie, like high side glove or whatever. You can bet on those kinds of things. So there's the NHL is in good shape insofar as growing the fan base. We've got Seattle on the horizon, of course, but they've got a good idea of how to grow the revenue, how to grow the fan base, and there's been a lot of things that have been going the NHL's way. I mean, we didn't even talk too much about David Ayer and how much that story has created a lot of good publicity. So and then of course Felix saying the All Women's Day, the Chicago St. Louis All Women's Day game, and that's another great source for revenue. So I think the league's in good position. I don't think we should be too worried about the cap kind of declining or anything like that.
It could have an effect for next year, of course, depending on if there are cancellations or postponements. But that's going to remain to be seen until something like that happens, for sure. As for the women's game, I'm psyched because there is a lot of San Jose representation. Of course, Kendall Coyne Schofield will be inside the glass. Kate Scott, for many of you who know KMBR out here in San Francisco, she was one of the midday reporter hosts with Gary Radnich for a number of years. I know her personally. I can be more psyched for her. AJ and I ran into her. I think it was in the Florida game. She was prepping for hockey. Great talent. It should be a good one to check out, and that's Sunday. And of course, I believe the Sharks game is also on NBCSN afterwards. So you're getting a double bill here. You're gonna get Kate Scott and Kendall Coyne Schofield for the two, that one, and then the second game is Sharks. So it'll be awesome. So we gotta try and get Kate on for sure. Be really cool. And then of course you got Sharks and Bruins, and then of course your only post game will be us. So I mean, come on, how can you not love it? So John with the super chat. Is LeBanc on vacation or what?
Dude, John has been killing it, man. Last time I was on, he was donating a lot too. And John, I mean, your tax dollars at work here, with the microphones and, getting us a little bit better visuals and kind of upgrading on the software on our side. So we really do appreciate everything that everybody puts in and chips in. This is definitely a show for the fans, driven by the fans. And like I said, your tax dollars at work, that's for sure.
Yeah, but as for LeBanc on vacation, he's gone through these ruts, and it's one of those ones where you have to understand that the toughest thing about it is that you get through these ruts, and he made a risk with his contract, and he's trying to get it out and get back into it, because let's be honest here, he's playing with fire if he continues to struggle. John saying put True back in. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets into one of these two games on the weekend.
But I like tonight. I don't think that LeBanc. I was watching his shifts and stuff. He's trying his hardest.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is an effort thing. I think
Right.
it's just sometimes he goes through a rut, and it's unfortunate, but I think he's trying to work himself out of it. It wasn't like earlier in the season, right, where we definitely saw him taking off shifts, where we definitely saw him like not back checking. I don't think that this is that. I think that this is kind of just one of those natural kind of troughs that we see in scorers games at times. It's concerning, yes, but I don't think that it warrants necessarily like any kind of reduction in his already reduced ice time, and he's already been brought down from the first power play unit. So again, I don't think that this is an effort thing. I think it's just trying to figure out a game. And I mean, scorers are notoriously streaky anyways.
Yep.
And with
Just ask
how
Patrick Marleau.
yeah, Patrick Marleau. You also look at the lack of talent, or the talent that has been on the shelf all year. That's also that also plays into it too. So yeah, well, I'd love to see Banker. We'd love to see more out of Banker, but again, I am not worried about his game. I'm not generally worried too much about the forwards games in general. I'm seeing a lot of good things. Again, I think Vlasic had a really rough night tonight.
Yeah. That
you know,
Galchenyuk goal wasn't the best.
yeah, and on that Zach Parise goal, he bit really hard on his man. I think it was Kevin Fiala who was driving the zone and just made him stumble over. And it's just like, oh, rough night tonight. And so really, it's more on the back end. I'm seeing good things out of Burns, which is a positive, because we weren't seeing that shot of his, but now we're starting to see it again. I'm liking Shimek's game. I'm liking Ferraro was a little bit rough tonight too, but overall I've liked his effort and I've liked his game. Davidson is still. I don't really know what to make of him and his game. I feel like he's kind of a stopgap at the moment. Kind of a warm body, but we can see. I mean, there's definitely room for a seventh defenseman on the team going forward. So be interesting to see if he could kind of snatch a spot. And you know what? Silently doing a pretty good job on the back end, Tim Heed.
Yeah,
Tim
definitely.
Tim Heed. I mean, he hasn't made gaffes, and he's been pretty reliable with the shot. Generating a lot of shots from the back end. I've liked his game. I know that there were some people who have kind of poo-pooed the idea of him getting an extension, but hey, you know what? If you want to maybe throw $1.5 million offer, see if he wants to take it for another year, I wouldn't mind seeing Tim Heed come back again, and so long as he's playing. But yeah, I've liked his game as well. So. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the team kind of responds. It'll be interesting to see, again, who is going to step up and really make it difficult for this team to let go of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, Ultimate Oreo saying, I hope so. We need more responsible demon. Yeah, it'd be great. Of course, and like Chris says, Sharks need value players. In that sense, for sure, because when you have Erik Karlsson, he needs to be on his potential, but also you also need those other players to help support around everybody. That's making the big bucks, for sure. So.
I did go clean shaven for everybody wanting to ask because of coronavirus. It's people with beards, I think, we're at risk of, carrying it a little bit more from. I just wish they shoot. Nice. I like that, John. Thank you. Yeah, if you have a beard, I'd say trim that down just for the time being, because it can be an area where viruses live.
Well, the question is, though, do Jumbo and Burnsy go beardless? Now, if I'm not mistaken, I've heard rumors that Burnsy's beard is required by certain people who he does promotions with. So, and that's a rumor. But I mean, that's one to be interesting to see. But will Jumbo shaved it off a couple of times last season, so who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm just looking at looking at CNN, logging on CNN. It says World
Wow.
Health Organization has said that the outbreak is nearing 100,000. So
Oh,
I don't
fun.
know. You got to wonder maybe that there's some kind of health clause in his contracts for his
Yeah.
beard.
Well, you would hope, right? There would be some safety in there. Um, with that, I mean, do you guys really need a wraparound? Do you?
Eh,
Yeah. All right.
eh.
Here.
Have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
I mean, I'm sure Laurel, who will be watching this on the replay, will like that, and I hope you feel better, Laurel. Really quick, Penguins over Sabres 4-2. Patrick Hornquist gets away with sucker punching Middleton and scores 2 goals, so that's great. Lightning over Montreal 4-0. Victor Hedman with 2 goals in that one. Torrey Krug gets the OT winner for the Bruins as they beat the Panthers 2-1 in overtime. Mika Zibanejad. This is the whole
Whew.
reason why we're going to do the wraparound. Mika Zibanejad, 5 goals.
Man, I mean, he had a reach around tonight. I mean,
Hey, now.
yeah, I mean, shoot, if yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, John. You got me. You got me all
Right.
mixed up, man. I'm seeing the donation. I'm trying to think about things here. No, he had himself a rooster and a half kind of night. You know what I mean? I mean, woo, 5 goals. I think it was the first time in 23 years. The
Yep.
last time to do it was the last guy to do it was Sergei Fedorov, and I believe he was playing against Washington.
Yeah, of
So-
all things. Yeah. And oh, by the way, Ovechkin scored 2 goals. Right? Go
Yeah.
figure. Flyers go 8 in a row. They beat the Hurricanes 4-1. Senators welcome back Peugeot to Ottawa, and they beat him 4-3. Mikkel Bodker had his second goal of the season. That's right, Mikkel Bodker with his second goal of the season, a short-handed goal no less. In that one, Predators shut out Joe Pavelski and the Dallas Stars 2-0. Wow. Uh, in Chicago, the Hawks beat the Oilers. That's a painful loss for the Oil. They lose 4-3 in that one. In a shootout, the Kings beat the Maple Leafs 1-0.
Oh my god, that team is just it's literally it's the Three Stooges. I mean, they can't get out of their own way. That team, it's fucking hilarious
Oh
because
my gosh.
I'll put one in the swear jar, but the Fan 590. I mean, just listening to these hosts like talk about Toronto and it's like the world is imploding. It's hilarious. So for anything, it's good for the laughs.
Dude, I know you're not a fan of Dangle, but I mean, my gosh, I can expect him to lose his mind. He has to stay up till 1:30 in the morning to watch his Leafs, and then they lose in the shootout 1-0.
What if they
So-
miss? What if they actually fall out? I want to see the implosion that Steve Dangle will have.
Oh man. And they don't have their first round pick. They traded it with Patrick Marleau to buy him out.
Dude, like seriously, Carolina is nipping at their heels.
That's
New
the
York.
worst part.
Yeah, New York is also, vying. I know they're in the Metro, but they're vying for wild card spots.
Mhm.
I mean, heck, Florida's not even out of this thing. They got, they only need 5 points. So Toronto better get it together, man.
Yeah, no kidding. So that's your wraparound for the evening. If you do want to go to a hockey game, we will say
Ooh, Barracuda!
they play tomorrow. So if you want to check that out, go for it. I think it's Sheriff Western night, Roy Sommer bobblehead night to the first 4,000 fans. So sjbarracuda.com if you want to get your Roy Sommer bobblehead for sure on that one. Yeah, see, can't wait to see Dangle's implosion for sure. All right, well, Landy, I think that does it for us. Because I have to be at work in about 4.5 hours. So your final thoughts and where the people can chat with you on the social.
Well, they can't have me. I think my girlfriend has got the corner market on that one.
That's not exactly the word I was kind of going with, but okay. Hey, we're even now with you watching World Whore on CNN.
Yeah, Freudian
Yes,
slip.
a blooper, and it's not me this time.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Oh man. I'm just waiting for AJ to clip that out and having fun with audio. As far as the final thoughts go, again, people, let's root for the players here. Let's root for the youngins. I'd like to see more growth and development, and it'll be interesting to see who really steps up and takes some jobs. So yeah, continued watching for that. And as far as where you can find me, you can use my first name. That's Eric, spelled the right way with a K. Landi, Landi. It's Italian, not French, on all the social media garbage.
Yeah. I'm at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter and the Instagram. Of course, you can always reach out to us. Have fun with talking Sharks hockey or any kind of hockey. John with another super chat donation. Thank you very much.
I'm starting to feel like an exotic dancer. He's just like whipping out. He's just whipping out those $2 bills.
Okay. Oh my God! When you say whipping out, I'm getting scared, man.
Talks about roosters and 5 goals and exotic dancing.
I'm glad we didn't do this when Shalane was on. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Shalane, thank you for coming on. We appreciate you always. I'll hit her up at Shalana Goldman. And for all sakes, let's root her on as she's one of the great, hockey writers out there for sure. As for us, in case you missed anything or want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher. As you can see, we're all over the place: Apple, Google Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and a lot more for that. We will be back with you on Saturday afternoon. It's a 4 p.m. start to accommodate Hockey Night in Canada. So be on the lookout for us roughly around 6:30ish. As the Sharks will begin a back-to-back against the Ottawa Senators and Colorado Avalanche on their weekend. So, Ultimate, did somebody say rooster? Come on, Jumbo. You need to get one of those before you retire, man. So, we'll be back with you on Saturday and Sunday. And the conversation now continues over on Discord. And until Saturday afternoon, follow us on the social and subscribe to us. Keep it real. Keep it teal. Keep it real teal. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you on Saturday.